Good morning. My name is Carrie Assar, and I'm the team leader for the infant formula and medical food staff. My group is responsible for reviewing infant formula notifications, including the clinical studies contained in those notifications. Let's begin with the question of why infant formula is regulated. A need for legislation was brought forward to Congress because of serious adverse events in 1978. What happened? Well, one manufacturer discontinued the addition of sodium chloride to their infant formula, and as a result, more than 130 infants developed hypochloremic metabolic alkalosis. This lack of chloride resulted in a serious alteration in the infant's acid-base balance, presenting as vomiting, nausea, and poor growth. A number of infants required hospitalization. Let's take a look at poll question number 1. Is the following statement true or false? FDA regulates infant formulas like drugs since they are for infants. Provide your answer to the question on the screen and we'll discuss how infant formulas are regulated. Congress, in a joint bipartisan effort, enacted the Infant Formula Act in 1980 and amended it in 1986. The 1986 amendment gave FDA more regulatory authority. The Infant Formula Act, Section 412 of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, included our laws that pertain to the safe production and nutritional sufficiency of infant formulas. The Act also identifies what adulterates infant formula and grants mandatory recall authority to FDA. So let's see how you've answered poll question number 1. %60 of you answered false, and the answer is false. FDA regulates infant formulas as a food, not a drug. So, what is infant formula? An infant formula is a product intended for use by infants that simulates human milk or is suitable as a complete or partial substitute for human milk. Infant formula is a unique food because, unlike other foods, it may be the sole source of nutrition for an infant. Whereas older children and adults have the opportunity to obtain nutrients from a variety of foods in the diet. Therefore, every batch of infant formula that enters the marketplace must be perfect. From the first poll question, you all now know that infant formulas are regulated as food, but there are additional specific requirements. Because infant formula is a food, all applicable food laws apply to infant formula. However, infant formula has its own specific laws and regulations. In addition to the Infant Formula Act that I previously mentioned, FDA recently published the Infant Formula Final Rule, which contains the regulations for infant formula. There are legal consequences associated with violations of the statute or regulations. There are 2 regulatory categories of infant formulas, non-exempt and exempt. I'll go into more detail about these categories a little later. And let's take a moment for another poll question. Poll question number 2 is about the regulatory definition of an infant. Under FDA's regulations, an infant is defined as a person that is A, not more than 18 months of age, B, not more than 6 months of age, C, not more than 12 months of age, or D, not more than 9 months of age. Please provide your answer to the question on the screen. Okay, so who are the intended users of infant formula and what are the types of infant formulas in the marketplace? The intended users of infant formula are obviously infants, but what is an infant? Our regulations define an infant as a person not more than 12 months of age. You may be wondering why a specific age is important in this definition. As a result of this definition, products that are intended for children over 12 months of age are not considered infant formulas and thus not regulated under the Infant Formula Act or the final rule. Let's take a look at the responses to poll question number 2. So 80% of you got the correct answer, which is C. FDA's infant formula regulations define an infant as a person not more than 12 months of age. Infant formulas marketed in the United States are designed to meet the nutritional requirements of either healthy term infants or infants with conditions or disorders that require different formulations. There are 2 major categories. One category contains infant formulas for term infants with generally good health status, and the other regulatory category applies to formula products for infants with inborn errors of metabolism, low birth weight, or those who otherwise have an unusual medical or dietary problem. Before we take a closer look at these different formulations, let's look at poll question number 3. Poll question number 3. Infant formula is a unique food because A, it only comes in powder form, B, it may be an infant's sole source of nutrition, C, it must be tasty, or D, it must be mixed with water. Please provide your answer to the question on the screen. While you're all thinking about the answer to poll question number 3, let's think about the types of products that are available for term infants. Products for generally healthy term infants are often characterized by their macronutrient protein source. These sources of protein may already be familiar to you and include cow milk-based formulas, partially hydrolyzed cow milk protein formulas, and soy protein isolate-based formulas. In this talk, I will use the terms low birth weight and preterm interchangeably. So let's think about how a formula intended for a low birth weight infant who is likely preterm might differ from a formula for a term infant. Products for preterm infants are cow milk-based formulas that are modified to meet the increased levels of energy, protein, and certain vitamins and minerals that are needed by these infants. Soy-based formulas are not recommended for preterm infants because it has been shown that preterm infants have not grown well when these formulas were used in that population. Are there other products for preterm infants that are regulated as infant formulas? The answer is yes. Other products for preterm infants are fortifiers for human milk. When possible, human milk is typically preferred for the preterm infant. However, human milk alone often cannot meet the nutritional requirements of the preterm infant. The products available include human milk fortifiers in powder or liquid form that contain selected nutrient to augment human milk. These products are nutritionally incomplete. Other human milk fortifiers are liquids concentrated to 30 kilocalories per fluid ounce. These products are cow milk based or concentrated human milk with added nutrients. These are nutritionally complete. All of these products must be used under very closely monitored conditions. Infant fed these products are usually in a hospital's neonatal intensive care unit or NICU. So formula products for infants with certain types of disorders that involve gastrointestinal malabsorption or disorders of an allergic origin may need modifications in the protein portion of the formula and or other macronutrient modifications in the lipids or carbohydrates. These formulations include formulas in which the casein has been extensively hydrolyzed and are suitably called extensively hydrolyzed casein formulas. For infants that need protein in elemental form, there are amino acid-based formulas that contain all amino acids necessary and are nutritionally complete. There are formulas that contain medium-chain triglycerides in the form of MCT oil for infants that have issues with fat malabsorption. Other formulas may contain a source of carbohydrate other than lactose. Some formulations may contain one or several of these modifications. Infants with inherited metabolic disorders require specialized formulations that meet the specific needs of the condition. Products are formulated with modifications in a macronutrient source, usually protein. For example, there are amino acid-based products specially formulated without phenylalanine for infants with phenylketonuria. There are other products formulated without the branched-chain amino acids isoleucine, leucine, and valine for infants with maple syrup urine disease. These types of products are not nutritionally complete and are often used in combination with a complete protein source. However, they must be used with continued medical monitoring. So let's take a look at the answer to poll question number 3, which apparently is missing, but I'll give you the answer anyways. The answer to question number 3 is B. An infant formula is a unique food because it may be an infant's sole source of nutrition. Remember, a younger infant does not consume other foods, so the formula must meet all of the infant's nutritional requirements. Now that you have some idea of how infant formulas may be used, we can focus on the regulatory categories. As I mentioned earlier, infant formulas are divided into 2 regulatory categories. Non-exempt formulas are those for use by healthy term infants and must meet all the criteria set forth in the Infant Formula Act and follow the regulations in the Infant Formula Final Rule. Exempt formulas are manufactured for use by infants with the various disorders we described earlier, such as low birth weight or preterm, inborn errors of metabolism, or other unusual medical or dietary problems. If applicable, these formulas may be exempt from certain aspects of the Act or the rule. Using our PKU example, the exempt formula may exclude the essential amino acid phenylalanine. Provisions of the Infant Formula Act require manufacturers to use current good manufacturing practices, which is abbreviated as CGMP, and follow accepted quality control procedures in the production of infant formula products. Another key element of the Act is that it is a nutrition-oriented statute that states special conditions of use. Infant formula is considered a unique food because, as previously mentioned, it often provides the sole source of nutrition during a very vulnerable period of an infant's development. Let's pause for a moment for another poll question. Poll question number 4. Is the following statement true or false? FDA approves infant formulas before they can enter into commerce. While you provide your answer to the question on the screen, let's discuss more provisions of the Infant Formula Act. As I previously stated, the Infant Formula Act is a nutrition-oriented law. The nutrient requirements for infant formulas include minimum levels for 29 nutrients and maximum levels for 9 of those 29 nutrients. However, there are exceptions to these requirements for the exempt infant formulas. The quality factor requirements in the Act means that a manufacturer must show that the formula provides nutrients in a form that is bioavailable and safe, and that the formula supports healthy growth when fed as a sole source of nutrition. While chemical analyses can show that a formula contains nutrients in the required amounts, those lab results on their own cannot demonstrate the bioavailability of the nutrients. The manufacturer must be able to assure FDA that the formula in its entirety is bioavailable. Demonstration of healthy growth is most often used as that assurance. The Infant Formula Final Rule contains regulations that define the minimum requirements for the quality factors, which includes demonstration of normal physical growth and sufficient biological quality of the protein. In addition to the requirements for prevention of adulteration in foods, infant formula has further conditions. Examples of conditions that would render an infant formula product adulterated include: the formula does not provide the nutrients as specified by law. If final product testing had been required back in 1978, the manufacturer of the formula in the beginning of this presentation would have discovered that there was inadequate that there was inadequate chloride in the product and it would not have entered the marketplace. Other examples are if processing is not in compliance with current good manufacturing practices and quality control procedures, or if the formula does not meet the quality factor requirements. There are additional requirements an infant formula manufacturer must meet. Manufacturers must test a product's nutrient composition during production and shelf life, and they must also keep records on production, testing, and distribution of each batch of infant formula. Infant formula manufacturers undergo FDA plant inspections that are conducted annually. Inspections of all facilities include examination of compliance with current good manufacturing practices and quality control procedures, as well as reviewing that the manufacturer has maintained all necessary record and reports on their products. Inspections of new facilities are conducted during early production runs, and special inspections may also be conducted if FDA becomes aware of potential manufacturing or public health concerns. Product recalls of infant formula may be voluntary or mandatory. If an infant formula does not provide the required nutrients or is adulterated or misbranded in other ways, the firm may initiate a voluntary recall and inform FDA at that time. However, if FDA determines there is a risk to human health, the agency has the authority to require a mandatory recall. Now let's take a look at your responses to poll question number 4. 53% of you answered false, which is correct. FDA has pre-market notification requirements, which is not the same as pre-market approval. Let's take a look at some other requirements of the Infant Formula Act. The other requirements are actually the initial requirements a manufacturer must meet to market infant formula in the U.S. They include the registration of the manufacturer and the product, and notification to FDA 90 days prior to the formula entering the market. The Act provides for a pre-market notification program and not a pre-market approval program. So when are 90-day notifications required? A manufacturer must submit a notification to FDA 90 days before they plan to market a formula. When a new formula is manufactured by a person who has not previously manufactured infant formula, when a formula is manufactured by a person who has not marketed infant formula in the U.S., or when a current manufacturer makes a new formula who has a major change in processing or the formulation of a currently marketed formula. So what is a major change? Examples of major changes include a new infant formula, a new manufacturer, the addition of a new macronutrient, a substantial quantitative change in a macronutrient, the addition of a new ingredient that has been added for potential nutrient contribution, new technology, and new packaging. And this list is not exhaustive, it's just examples. The 90-day pre-market notifications for non-exempt formulas, now remember these are the formulas for healthy term infants, must include the following: an explanation of why the formula is a new infant formula, the quantitative formulation, which is essentially the recipe, a description of the change from the previously notified product, including changes in formulation or processing, and assurances that the formula will not be marketed unless it meets the quality factor requirements, it meets nutrient content requirements, and that its processing complies with CGMPs and quality control requirements. The 90-day pre-market notifications for exempt formulas are a bit different and must include the quantitative formulation, label and labeling, a description of the medical conditions for which the formula is represented, and the medical, nutritional, scientific, or technological rationale for the deviation from the required nutrients of Section 412 in the Infant Formula Act. These formulas must be designed to meet the specific needs of the disorder and must show that the rationale for the modification in the formulation is appropriate. What types of reviews are needed for an infant formula pre-market notification? Product reviews by FDA depends on what the manufacturer is doing to the product. The types of reviews may include one, some, or all of the following: nutrition, clinical, new ingredient, evaluation of whether the food contact surface could possibly involve an indirect food additive, processing, statistics, and/or special expertise or consultations. That was a lot of information, so let's briefly review the notification requirement. In summary, pre-market notification is not the same as pre-market approval of a product. The objective of a notification is to assure FDA that the nutrient content meets requirements, the formula is manufactured according to CGMPs with appropriate quality control, nutrient testing of finished product has been conducted, and the formula meets the quality factors. There are federal regulations for infant formula labels that are different from other food labels. The nutrition facts label with % daily value is not used for infant formula. Instead, infant formula labels must list all the required nutrients with the quantity per 100 kilocalories of formula. The label must also have preparation and use instructions that includes product storage, sterilization of water, bottle, and nipples when necessary, and instructions for dilution of powder and liquid concentrates, including a pictogram showing major steps for preparation. This is an example of a label pictogram. Various details can be used depending on whether the formula is in liquid or powder form. This pictogram for a concentrated liquid is required to show in picture format that water is boiled, if the infant's physician says to do so, and how to combine the water with the liquid concentrate in equal amounts to a baby bottle. A pictogram for a powdered formula would show the level scoop of formula being combined with the appropriate amount of water. Other required information on an infant formula label includes the statement, "The health of your infant depends on carefully following the directions for preparation and use," the statement, "Use as directed by a physician," and a use by date. The FDA website, www.fda.gov, has more detailed information on infant formula as well as other products we regulate, foods, drugs, and cosmetics. I have a couple quiz questions that you should all be able to answer now after that presentation. So quiz question number 1, true or false? Exempt infant formula must meet the same requirements as non-exempt infant formula. Okay, question 2 is also true and false. Infant formula must be tested at the final product stage for nutrients before it is permitted to enter into interstate commerce. Okay. And question number 3, true or false? Infant formula labels must list all the required nutrients in the quantity per 100 kilocalories of formula. Okay, and here are the answers to the quiz questions. 1 was false, 2 was true, and 3 was true. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Carrie, for that wonderful presentation. I learned so much in the process of your presentation. We do have some early questions that came in on your presentation. The first one, well, I'm going to do the second one first, and then I'll come back to the first one. Are exempt formulas still regulated through the Infant Formula Act? So I'll let you discuss that one, and then we'll come back to the other one.
They are, but they are exempt from certain provisions of it, such as the required nutrients.
Okay, the other question is mostly a comment and then a question. An expert panel, and I'm not sure which expert panel, has been convened with a recommendation to relook at the formula regulations. And where is FDA in this process?
I'm not familiar with this expert panel. So FDA recently, this summer actually, published the infant formula final rule, which is the infant formula regulations. So I don't know if you're talking about something that may have happened prior to that or if it's something subsequent. Okay.
Again, I want to thank you, Carrie, for that most informative presentation, and we thank the audience for the questions that they've sent in.